How Amazon and Walmart tag-teamed Toys R Us to death. Picture this. It's Black Friday 2004, and across America, parents are camping outside Toys R Us stores in sleeping bags, clutching shopping lists and checkbooks, ready to battle for the hottest toys of the season. Inside those cathedral-sized warehouses, Geoffrey the Giraffe presided over endless aisles of wonder. Hot Wheels tracks that stretched for miles, Barbie dream houses stacked to the ceiling, and video game displays that made kids' eyes go wide with possibility. This was Toys R Us at its absolute peak, commanding $17 billion in annual revenue and operating over 1,500 stores worldwide. They weren't just the biggest toy retailer on the planet. They were Christmas itself, the undisputed kingdom where childhood dreams came to life. But in the shadows, two retail giants were sharpening their knives, and by 2017, Geoffrey would be nothing more than a mascot without a kingdom, victim of the most brutal tag team execution in retail history. The first blow came from an unlikely source, not a toy company at all, but a scrappy online bookstore called Amazon. In 2005, Jeff Bezos was already eyeing toys as his next conquest, but he faced a massive problem. Toy inventory was incredibly complex, seasonal, and required relationships with hundreds of manufacturers that took decades to build. Toys R Us had spent 57 years cultivating these relationships, giving them exclusive access to limited edition items and first dibs on hot new releases. So Bezos did something brilliant and ultimately devastating. He partnered with his future victim. The Amazon Toys R Us partnership launched in 2000, making Toys R Us the exclusive toy and baby product seller on Amazon's platform. For Bezos, it was genius. Instant access to toy expertise and inventory without the headache of building it from scratch. For Toys R Us, it seemed like easy money. $10 million upfront, plus a percentage of every sale, all while Amazon handled the technical heavy lifting. But this partnership was like giving a vampire an invitation into your home. Amazon wasn't just selling toys, they were studying every aspect of the toy business, learning customer behavior, analyzing seasonal patterns, and building the infrastructure they'd need to eventually crush their partner. By 2004, the partnership was already souring. Toys R Us executives watched in horror as other toy sellers began appearing on Amazon's platform, violating their supposed exclusivity agreement. They sued Amazon for breach of contract, but the damage was done. Amazon had learned everything they needed to know about the toy business. When the partnership officially ended in 2006, Amazon immediately launched their own toy operation, armed with 5 years of insider knowledge about customer preferences, seasonal buying patterns, and supplier relationships. They could offer the same toys as Toys R Us with several crushing advantages. No need to maintain expensive physical stores, no armies of seasonal employees, and most importantly, they could sell toys as loss leaders. While Toys R Us needed to make profit on every Elmo doll to pay for their massive overhead, Amazon could sell that same Elmo at a loss, making their money back when customers bought books, electronics, or signed up for Prime memberships. It was economic warfare, and Toys R Us was bringing a calculator to a nuclear fight. The second assassin was hiding in plain sight, stacking toys between groceries and automotive supplies in big-box stores across America. Walmart had been selling toys since the 70s, but they'd always been content to let Toys R Us dominate the specialty market while they focused on everyday low prices for basic items. That calculus changed dramatically in the 2000s as Walmart's grocery business exploded and they perfected their supply chain into a retail weapon of mass destruction. Walmart's toy strategy was beautifully simple. They didn't need to carry every toy ever made like Toys R Us. Instead, they focused on the top 200 selling items in each category, the toys that every kid wanted and every parent needed to buy. They could purchase these hot toys in massive quantities, securing better prices from manufacturers than even Toys R Us could manage. A transformer that cost $39.99 at Toys R Us might be $24.99 at Walmart, and parents didn't care about selection when they were saving $15 per toy. Even more devastating was Walmart's convenience factor. Parents could grab milk, diapers, prescriptions, and Christmas toys in a single trip. The massive Toys R Us warehouse that once seemed impressive now felt like an inconvenient extra stop. The financial mathematics of retail were turning against Toys R Us like a slow-motion avalanche. Their business model had worked perfectly in the analog age. Massive stores in expensive real estate locations, carrying enormous inventory of seasonal products, staffed by armies of temporary workers during the crucial fourth quarter. In 1985, this was brilliant. Nobody else had the scale or expertise to do Christmas like Toys R Us. But by 2005, those massive stores had become financial anchors, dragging them toward the ocean floor. Every Toys R Us store required millions of dollars in annual rent, insurance, utilities, and staffing, costs that had to be recovered through toy sales in an increasingly competitive market. Meanwhile, Amazon was operating out of warehouses in low-cost locations, using algorithms instead of sales associates, and Walmart was leveraging grocery traffic to subsidize their toy operations. Toys R Us was stuck paying premium costs to deliver an increasingly commoditized product. They were trying to win a price war while carrying the heaviest backpack in retail history. The leveraged buyout of 2005 didn't kill Toys R Us, but it did strap a suicide vest to their chest just as the real battle was beginning. Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado took the company private for $6.6 billion. Loading it up with debt that would require $400 million in annual interest payments. This financial engineering might have worked if Toys R Us had been able to maintain their market dominance, but it was catastrophic timing. Just as Amazon and Walmart were ramping up their assault, Toys R Us found themselves financially hobbled, unable to invest in the e-commerce infrastructure and price matching that might have kept them competitive. Every dollar that should have gone toward building their online presence or renovating their dated stores was instead flowing to Wall Street investors. The private equity owners were essentially strip mining the company's future to pay for their acquisition, leaving Toys R Us to fight the retail war of their lives with one hand tied behind their back. Amazon's technological superiority wasn't just about having a website, it was about fundamentally reimagining how toy retail could work. Their recommendation algorithms could predict what toys would be popular months before traditional buyers figured it out, allowing them to secure inventory and favorable pricing from manufacturers. Their review system created a self-reinforcing cycle where popular toys got more reviews, better rankings, and higher sales, while their vast selection meant customers could find obscure items that Toys R Us might not stock. Prime membership turned occasional toy buyers into loyal Amazon customers who defaulted to Amazon for everything, including toys. But perhaps most devastatingly, Amazon's data collection allowed them to optimize every aspect of the customer experience. They knew exactly which toys parents researched in January for Christmas purchases in December. They could track how price sensitivity varied by product category, customer location, and time of year. While Toys R Us was still using traditional retail metrics and seasonal guesswork, Amazon was playing retail chess with perfect information about their opponents' moves. The toy industry was becoming a data science competition, and Toys R Us was still using an abacus. The retail apocalypse hit Toys R Us like a perfect storm, with Amazon and Walmart attacking from different angles simultaneously. Amazon destroyed their pricing power on popular items while offering superior convenience and selection. Walmart crushed them on the biggest volume items while providing one-stop shopping that busy parents desperately wanted. Target got into the act too, creating boutique toy sections that felt more curated and less overwhelming than the Toys R Us warehouse experience. Even dollar stores began carrying basic toys at prices that made Toys R Us look absurdly expensive. The company that had once controlled 40% of the American toy market watched their share plummet to less than 20%, then 15%, then into single digits. Their same-store sales declined for 5 consecutive years as customers defected to more convenient and affordable alternatives. By 2017, many Toys R Us locations felt like retail ghost towns. Vast spaces with sparse inventory, minimal staff, and the lingering smell of a business model that was rotting from the inside out. The final chapter was written with brutal efficiency. In September 2017, Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy, claiming they intended to reorganize and emerge stronger. But there was no viable path forward. Their debt service consumed every dollar they might have invested in competitive improvements. Amazon had become the default destination for toy shopping, especially for busy parents who valued convenience over experience. Walmart had locked up the price-sensitive market with their everyday low prices and convenient locations. The toy manufacturers who had once depended on Toys R Us now had direct relationships with Amazon and other retailers, eliminating the middleman that had once been essential. The company that had invented the toy superstore concept was now obsolete, a victim of their own success in creating a market that others could serve more efficiently. In March 2018, Toys R Us announced they were closing all their American stores. The liquidation sales were heartbreaking. Parents brought their children to say goodbye to stores that had been part of their own childhoods, buying clearance toys from a company that was already dead. Geoffrey the giraffe, who had presided over countless Christmas mornings and birthday wishes, became a symbol of retail extinction, proof that no company, no matter how beloved or dominant, was immune to the creative destruction of technological change. The murder of Toys R Us wasn't just the death of a retailer. It was the end of an entire era of American childhood and commerce. For generations, the ritual of visiting Toys R Us had been a rite of passage, a magical experience where kids could see everything they wanted in one overwhelming, wonderful place. But Amazon and Walmart didn't just offer better prices and convenience. They offered a fundamental reimagining of how families could shop for toys. Why drive to a store when you could browse infinite selection from your couch? Why pay full price when algorithms could find you better deals? Why make toy shopping a special trip when you could grab toys while buying groceries? The tag team execution was so complete that it eliminated not just Toys R Us, but the entire concept of destination toy shopping. Today's children will never experience the unique thrill of walking into a Toys R Us on Christmas Eve, seeing walls of toys stretching beyond their imagination and knowing they were standing in the center of the toy universe. Amazon and Walmart killed more than a company. They killed a piece of childhood itself, replacing wonder with efficiency and magic with algorithms. Geoffrey the giraffe didn't just lose his stores, he lost his kingdom, victim of the most ruthlessly effective industry kill shot in retail history.